Assalamualaikum, guys. And I was just, inviting some other people into our live, and we're talking about the healing waters that were given to the prophets, that were given to protect us. So we want to get into this because I've been having all week, ever since last week, talk to me and give me different, excuse me, they've been giving me different websites, online websites that they have been using and going to get war water. And I wanted to give you this insight that was given, at the time of prophets. You always want to take what the prophets use. You do not take. You do not want to take what given online, because things online is not for your spiritual use. It is to attack people. Welcome, just to manifest. Uh, well, this life is about spiritual waters given, and spiritual waters given, and the way people have been using them, preparing them. So, in my experience, what I understand is that if you're taking something that is negative, if you're taking water from the swamp and putting it in your house and putting it on your front door, if you're taking the negative water and spreading that all over your house, then you are going to have a problem. You're going to invite in oppressive spirits. So whoever is telling you to take a recipe for war water off of the internet, then they have deceived you, because originally war water has to be prayed over for a couple of days. You just can't take war water and use it. It was called spiritual warfare water. It also was called iron water. Iron water, because many spiritual healers used to use the iron and put it in water for people who had iron deficiencies back in the day. They used to let it sit in that water, that iron, and pray over it. So these types of remedies that we had back in the day, that a lot of these people who are warlocks, witches, have taken these healing waters in order to deceive people, in order to harm people, in order to attack people. Hello, Super Mike the Third. Yes, we love Jesus as a prophet. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Uh, we want to make sure. Can you guys hear me? I want to make sure that my mic is on. I wanted to make sure that you understand where these healing methods come from. I want to make sure that you understand that taking things from the internet, online rituals that does not incorporate God, that you have not prayed over, that you have not, really, you don't have that connection with God. You're not fasting. You're not, in prostration. And most of all, you haven't did your homework, because if there is anything that is foul and disgusting, as swamp water being spread over your house, being spread over your property in order to remove something negative, then that would be the most eye-opening thing that you would be able to take to think that you're going to heal yourself with that. So, I have given you, the first thing that you understand. Hello, please hit the like button as you come in. Hello, CJ to Fly. Jesus is a prophet. I really appreciate that. He can't be king. He can't be king because he was created. So, we'll have that understanding, but that's another topic. So, one of the ways that we have to understand how we got a lot of this water, and again, it was as a healing water that was given by the church, and like I said, my parents were Christians, so I grew up as a Christian. So there's a lot of things that we know that is incorrect, that was given in the Holy Bible by Christianity. And again, I'm going to tell you, anything that your colonizer has given you, it is going to potentially harm you. So the first thing that we have to understand is that the war water that a lot of you are going online in order to heal yourself with, it is something that was given to the colonizer in order, to defend our ancestors from them harming them. The war water that the church used, on the other hand, and I know this because my family was Baptist, and they were holiness at that time. The war water that the church used would not let entities into the church. They would, the women of the church, the men of the church would wipe down the pews, the threshold, and it would not allow negative energy into the church when they use this war water that they prayed over. And now I have to give you again these prayers that they would pray over the war water for the church. They would pray over it with Proverbs 27:17, Deuteronomy 28:48, Psalms 2:9, Jeremiah 1:18. And all of these verses have one thing in common, and it is iron, the iron water. It is the iron water that the preacher was praying over and wiping down these pews, and it would not allow negative energy into the church. And a lot of the people who would enter the church at that time did not know that, the church had been cleansed in this way with spiritual healing water, prayed over with these verses. And a lot of times when the negative people, the narcissist people, the demonic people, the toxic people would try to enter into holy spaces and holy places after it has been cleaned with that kind of water, you would get a lot of people having convulsions. They would, start having problems, seizures, and these people had been identified as having these attachments. And so therefore the church was, and I know this to be factual, the church would therefore go ahead and spiritually heal that person by laying hands on that person and casting out that entity that was in that person, that was attached to that person. So these are some of the things that, they do not want to talk about, although it's in their book. It's in their book. They want to call that, spiritual healing. And it's also associated with certain prophets. The prophet that God gave the iron. God gave the iron, and he gave a war. He gave it to them for holy war. So we have to understand these are some of the things that has been associated with people, using witchcraft or being a warlock, when it actually came from the Christian church in order to cleanse negative energy and keep demonic narcissist people away from the church, or be identified if they entered the church. And holy water is one of them. So this is how we know that what is on the internet has not been given to you, by, the holy places, the churches, the synagogues. They have not been prayed over. You have not gotten the original recipe. The original recipe does not have swamp water in it. So if you're using those kinds of, recipes from the internet, then 9 times out of 10, you're going to feel some oppression in your life. You're going to, experience, entities coming to your health, and being oppressed by these entities, because these people on the internet, or whatever recipe they have taken from our ancestors, they have corrupted that entity. They have prayed over it with an entity. They have used it for some other, relief. They have used it to attack people. So that is why I tell you to be careful about going on the internet. A lot of the things that you think that you are familiar with, that you're hearing people talk about, you may have heard people talk about it in your family, but a lot of it was given by the entity. It's not the original recipe in order to heal the situation. And again, I have to really just reiterate that the original recipe contained iron water, and it was given to spiritually heal persons who had iron deficiencies. It was originally meant, when prayed over and used to wash down the church and holy places, it was meant to keep negative and toxic people out of holy spaces and holy places. So if you're getting some holy water to attack somebody in order to, say, oh, this person, has set up on me and they were trying to take my husband, or they were trying to send me the evil eye, or whatever like that, then, you are, you first have to cleanse the negative energy, from yourself first. You just can't run out there and go and say, I'm going to take this water and I'm going to use it, in my house, anything off the internet. So these are, the understandings that we get, again, and I have to go in Surah Al-Hadid in order to read these verses over the spiritual healing water, the holy water, the spiritual warfare water that I had to send her in order to get these negative, oppressive spirits off of her. She had begun to have nosebleeds, headaches. The children were saying they wasn't going to the school. They wasn't going to wear the clothes that she bought them. So when you open yourself up to these negative entities and you're doing, spiritual warfare from the internet, then you're going to get what you bargained for. You're going to have some problems that enter your life. You don't have to worry about somebody hiring a spirit to oppress you. You just open yourself up to be oppressed by something negative. And I warn you all the time, do not take what the internet has given you. Please, everyone that's entering, please hit the like button. It helps the algorithm. Thank you. So we are having who is that? That says D-Nice 7180. Take that mask off. You're too pretty for a mask. Well, if I wanted people to be interested in, how I look other than, what my message is, then I would, take my mask off. But I think that my online picture is enough for you. If it's not, then, you have to go look at your girlfriends or your wives or the people that is in society that don't cover their face. I'm sorry. So, that's where I am with that. You can always, look at my picture online. With that being said, when you are making anything, you have to have that connection with God. You have to be in alignment with God. It has to come from, somewhere, a godly place. It has to come from one of the prophets. And so, like I said, when I had to read Surah Hadid over her spiritual water in order to, get this negative energy off of her that she had let into her life, I had to pray, the verses from the Holy Bible and the verses from the Holy Quran in order to, get that negative energy off of her. I had to give her verses to read, you know, um, from the Holy Bible, and give her a holy bath because she had went and, trying to remove the negative energy from her. And I understand that when a lot of you people know that this realm is real. I did a whole video about it. You'll do things and not know what you're doing. You can open up realms in your life to entities to enter. You're so interested in trying to cleanse the negative energy. Now that you know that it's real, now that, the mask is off from the church that they had been keeping from you, that you will do things that will set you up for failure in life, will open you up to entities in life that, will attack you, will devour your relationships, your finances, will ultimately harm you. So this is what we don't want to do. We first want to start off with, prayer. We want to start off with fasting. And this is why I have this channel. This is why I wanted to make sure that you understand that spiritual warfare water, spiritual, any kind of war water that you may have used could potentially open up a can of worms that you don't want. Anything that you've taken from the internet, from these people, if it has anything filthy that you need to sprinkle it in your house, you need to sprinkle it on your property. The shayateen always wants you to do something filthy. And when you're dealing with the original recipe, the way that the Christian church dealt with this recipe, it has nothing to do with water, and it has nothing to do with anything filthy. Okay, so you are given what the prophet David was given by God. You were given, the ring of chain armor that God gave him as a gift to create mighty war. And that's in Surah Hadid, and I think it's Surah Al Hadid 10:57 and 10. So you need to make sure that if it's not lining up, if it didn't come from one of the prophets, if it did not, if it's an off-brand recipe, because what the prophets have given you from the holy books is what is in the holy books. And just like we had our conversation about, Prophet Lot. You got Lot, and they will let you know what God gave to destroy evil in his time in Sodom and Gomorrah. He sent the brimstone and clay upon those people. So we can take, what Lot has given us, and the book of Lot, Sodom and Gomorrah has given us to stop evil dead in its tracks. The brimstone, the clay, it will stop negative energy, and you have to be able to use what's in the holy books, what was given to the prophets. So, I've had two people so far tell me and give me online recipes that they have used war water. And I wanted you to really understand that you're at your own risk when you do that. When things come and attack you, and then you're acting like you don't know what's going on, and you have to call somebody to cleanse that negative energy off of you, then ultimately understand you have opened up a realm that you're not able to control, and you're not going to be able to cleanse it on your own. Okay, so this is what was going on with her. You can't expect something filthy to enter your life and do you some good, in other words. And I have given you what the holy book and what the prophets have given you in order to cleanse yourself from negative energy. If you have the holy books, if you're reading the holy books, if you can understand what the prophets had and what God gave to the prophets to cleanse holy ground, to cleanse negative energy for holy war, then you'll understand that you don't need to go to a practitioner unless it's malignant energy that has set up on you, that has been on you over time. That someone, maybe have poisoned your feet, have poisoned your money, have poisoned your hands, have poisoned your womb. So, and again, whoever is saying that it's not possible, that this realm is not real, then I wanted to make sure that you understand that this is what they are talking about with, Esau and Jacob and Esau, a destiny swap. When you're talking about Abraham and Rachel, when they are, attacking the womb with negative energy, when Rachel couldn't get pregnant, the negative energy was cleansed by the holy book, the holy church, with certain passages in the holy books. They prayed over the waters that healed people. They prayed over the waters where these people could not even enter into the holy spaces, into the holy churches at that time. Once this water was applied to the house of God, because it would identify such persons. So this is why I had to make sure that we're lining up with what the holy book said. We're lining up with what God gave the prophets. So if the prophets, used brimstone, and God gave and destroyed a city with brimstone at the time, then that's what we're going to use to destroy evil. If God gave us, the water from, Job, and we're able to cleanse ourselves with the holy water from Job, from disease, from negative people, then that's what we're supposed to use in order to cleanse ourselves. We're not supposed to be on the internet using swamp water. Just nothing good can come from that. So I just wanted to make sure that we are, in that headspace, that we cannot, we have to take our cues from what they used of old. And let me make sure that I make myself clear that once they stop using this holy water, this spiritual warfare water in the church, and they started, letting the entity into the church, into the Christian church, where, women can not only preach and stand up in the house of God, but they can come into the house of God half dressed. They can come into the house of God with their 9 to 5 clothes on, with their cleavage out, and all of those things. So these are some of the ways that that this water is no longer being used by the Holy Church, but as a way, a thought. This water came from the Holy Church. It came from, the holy spaces. It was used by the priests. It was used by, the ministers. It was used by the mothers of the church. It was used by the caretakers of the church. So I just wanted to let you know that you will not get the original recipe. You will get an off-brand recipe, or you will get a recipe made by the entity, or a recipe given by our ancestors to the entity under duress, in order to harm someone, in order to attack someone. And don't let that person be you, that you harm yourself, that you attack yourself or someone in your line, your health or your money. As we see what has happened to our ancestors, our mothers and fathers, for dealing in the occult and attacking chosen ones, or using things that they could not control and opening up portals that they could not control, and their life is in the toilet, their health is in the toilet, their finances are in the toilet. So I wanted you to be aware of where the spiritual warfare water came from. The spiritual waters were made from healing prophets of the Bible, different prophets. You had Moses that, touched the water with his staff, and it divided. He touched the rock with his staff, and 12 springs came out. So these are the type of waters that we want to use in order to cleanse ourselves, that comes from the prophet. And again, I have to reiterate, we got Job in the book. We have different prophets who use the holy waters in order to cleanse themselves. So, it never said anything about these prophets having swamp water. And just to look at you. Okay. So this is where we are. Somebody has to, correct the situation. There's nothing, dumb or stupid. I know that people will go to extra lengths in order to get rid of entities and negative energy, especially when it starts to affect their health, their mind, psychic attacks, the evil eye, their children. I know that they will, but we have to do it in a way that keeps us in a state of mind humble to God. We have to do it in a way that keeps us in, alignment with God, with what He gave us. When we step out of line and start, deviating to what the entity has given us, just like God has given us good, He has given us bad. Just like He has, given us good, He has given us evil. So when we step out of line in order to, cleanse ourselves from negative energy with extra means that the entity has given us, then we open ourselves up to attacks. We open ourselves up to sickness. We open ourselves up to depression. We open ourselves up to lack. And it harms our relationships. We fall into depressions because things start going wrong, spiraling out of control. And a lot of times we're too embarrassed to go and say, I messed up. I used something that I shouldn't, I stepped out of line. Okay. So these are some of the ways that I've had to deal with some of my clients. I've had to deal with clients who have went to other practitioners who have been set up on and oppressed by using some of their products, by, some, like I said, some of my clients have said that they went to some males and they had to open up their shirt and let him blow on their bosom. So you have a lot of people who will do anything in order to, send negative energy and get you to buy products and buy into, false practices. But I'm here to tell you that the original waters, the original, holy water, the original waters, the spiritual warfare water, it came from the Holy Church to keep out negative demonic people and entities from attacking the people inside of the church. This is what your preachers and your ministers were praying over. This is what they were laying their hands on you and helping to remove that negative energy off of you. Okay, this is why a lot of those entities were not allowed to come into the Holy Church because of the covenant taken with the Christians by God, and they had a defense mechanism. Every people will have a gift and a covenant taken from God and given to them with gifts. And at the time of the Holy Torah, you'll see that they had the Ark of the Covenant given to them, gifts given to a people, a covenant given to them by God. So there are certain things that you are not supposed to do. And even in that time, you wasn't even allowed to touch the Ark of the Covenant. So, these are some of the ways that I like to make sure that my people, understand what they're doing. That if you go online to take these kinds of cleansings or, healing mechanisms that they have, put on for you, you may infect yourself with a demonic spirit. You may harm yourself. And we want to only take, what God has given us. I hope that you have received this message. Please like, share, and subscribe over all of my platforms. You can reach out to me in the description below if you want to talk about this issue, if you've had issues with products online, if you've used anything that was online that may have, infected you with negative energy. Please like, share, and subscribe over all of my platforms. Please book your sessions with me in the description below in my bio. Please book your one-on-one consultations or your live video chats with me. I'm HighOracle, Reiki spiritual healer. Assalamu alaikum.